If you've been staring at your half-finished offer for weeks or months and wondering to yourself, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just launch this thing? Then this video is for you. Believe me, I have been there. I'm literally sitting on an offer right now that I have been waiting to launch for over a year. And it took me 5 years to relaunch my YouTube channel and my Instagram account. And through all of that negative self-talk, depression, and procrastination, here's what I learned. You're not lazy, you're blocked. And once I understood this difference, my whole approach to my business and even the energy that I carry about my business completely changed. I used to spin in circles with my ideas, thinking that I needed more clarity, more time, more tweaking, when actually what I needed was to not allow my negative programs to be running the show. And once I started to do that inner work, I launched my first digital products, grew my audience, landed my first high-ticket clients, and grew my business in a way that flowed and resonated because I wasn't allowing those negative programs to dictate my circumstances anymore. In this video, I'll walk you through the 3 types of energetic blocks that often come up when you're about to launch something big. And I'll show you how to move through them so you can stop spinning and start selling. Because here's the thing, most spiritual creators that I know don't struggle because they lack talent or ideas. They struggle because they're carrying unconscious programs like fear of being seen, fear of failure, or even just fear of getting their message out there and the vulnerability that that brings with it. But they call it perfectionism, procrastination, or I'm just not ready yet. I have literally felt all of those things so many times. So if that's you, I want you to know this. There is nothing wrong with your work ethic. Your programs and likely your ego are simply trying to protect you from what it thinks is dangerous. And rightly so. If you think about it, for the past several thousands of years, lightworkers on the planet have literally been burned at the stake, stoned to death, or excommunicated from our family, friends, and communities. This is extremely harsh, and these negative programs literally get stuck into our physical body and our soul body. So it's no wonder that putting your gifts and your superpowers out there, especially if they are spiritual or aligned in a mystical way, are going to trigger some negative programs. But in a moment, I'm going to show you how to shift that. So if you're about to launch an offer, imagine this instead. You finally launch the thing that you've been sitting on, and it feels so good and so satisfying to actually have it done and completed. And not only that, but people sign up and they pay you for your product. You feel clear, excited, and inspired that you can finally share this message to the world and have it help people in a really valuable way. This is what happens when your conscious awareness, your energy field, and your intentions are aligned and resonating in high frequency. So the key to getting over these blocks isn't to work harder. It's to see with clarity and overcome those unconscious programs that are stopping you. And now I'm going to show you how to get there. These are the 3 most common energetic blocks that come up for me when I'm about to offer or launch a product, and I'm going to show you how I got through them so that you can too. Number 1, the visibility freeze. So this energetic block often comes through the energy of fear. The most common block that I had just to even get started, let alone launch an offer, was a fear around being seen. And when I dug deeper into the energy that was really behind this, it was a fear about judgment. I wondered or cared about,
what if people judge me, or what if they don't like me?
What really happened is I was associating visibility with judgment and emotional risk. So here is how I cleared it, and here's how you can do so too. First, you become aware of it. I did this by acknowledging that I had fears. So for example, when I decided to go face first on my Instagram account, I had to literally record myself and put my words onto a camera and share it with people. I got super triggered and was so worried about what people would think, that I wasn't pretty enough, or I didn't even know what I was doing, that I literally just froze and didn't do it for 5 years. Now, how I addressed that is I used the fear processing exercise on that energy bundle of fear of being seen. This is a super common program that I've seen with lightworkers because, like I said before, we often have a lot of trauma from this life or past lives that carry through and prevent us from becoming visible and shining our light to the world. If you're interested, you can grab the fear processing exercise in the description below. It's completely free and by far the most powerful mystical tool I could ever use and highly recommend. Once I was able to process that fear of being seen or even that fear of being judged, then I was able to actually create my content from a place of clarity and security. And that security was coming from that healed part of myself where I didn't need external validation from people to think or care about how good my work was or if it was being effective or not. Because my true purpose here is to get the message out to lightworkers to raise our frequency and to build the new paradigm of Earth. And at the end of the day, that's far more important than if someone dislikes me or unfollows my content because it's not a great match for them. Once you stop externalizing your validation from other people, then pretty much everything gets easier. Number 2, the perfectionist trap. One of my favorite blocks is saying it's not ready yet, or it could be better, or it's not quite perfect. I have to admit, I've been a perfectionist most of my life, especially when it comes to my work. But when I started to really see what energies and negative programs were underlying that energy, I realized that it wasn't perfectionism, but it was actually avoidance behavior. I was trying to avoid criticism by polishing the product forever. And this was really surprising to me because I always thought it was like pride in doing really great work and trying to put my best foot forward out into the world. But when I just scratched at the surface just a little bit, I detected there was a fear in my energy body and in my physical body. Once I processed that fear, I then put some systems in place to actually help me publish the thing, because let me tell you, it will never be perfect. So if you struggle from a perfectionism block too, here's how to clear it. First, you have to set a clear deadline and actually commit. This can be tricky because I have to admit I often push deadlines back just because I'm not ready yet, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. You really have to set a deadline and commit and make it happen no matter what. If you struggle with this like I do, then you can do some hacks like adding external accountability and deadlines to make sure that it happens. Some of the most common ones are you have people sign up before the event or the product launch happens, and they are waiting to receive some kind of delivery or product by a certain date. Also, at a mystical level, I really love it when I assign a deadline that has some kind of auspicious or mystical meaning behind it. So if you're an astrologer or numerologist, or pick your other favorite mystical tool, let's just say that you can't miss that date because when else is there gonna be another lunar eclipse that night? Maybe you'll have to wait 6 months, not ideal. So if you put some mystical spins on your deadline, that can also help get you to commit and stay committed. But the most important point that I learned when dealing with my perfectionism block is that I realized way too late that as an entrepreneur or an artist or a creator in general, you have to know that things will happen in iterations. I literally have never heard of any creator who produced a masterpiece on their very first go. First of all, this just isn't how we learn. And 2, we need to improve our businesses and our products over time because we get feedback from our audience or our clients. Once I realized that I was drastically underestimating the amount of iterations needed to find or create a really good product or offer, that totally changed how I approach my content creation. For example, there's one content creator that I follow who I really respect and admire, and she said it took her 38 times to finally land that offer that had strong market fit. In other words, it took her 38 tries to figure out what people wanted to buy. So remember, if you're an entrepreneur and you are creating products to sell to the world, you absolutely have to know that it will take iterations. You're not going to create the most perfect product from the get-go. In fact, the more you embrace this as a system and not a handicap, it is going to make your life so much easier. Number 3, the worthiness wound. So this is a very common block that for me often has to do with the ego ego, some kind of fear, or element of self-deprecation. Most commonly, it comes in the form of, who am I to teach this? And will I ever be good enough? What was really happening here is that I was waiting to feel ready rather than deciding to be ready. Because here's the thing, a lot of us, if we're trying something for the first time, we're going to feel some anxiety or hesitation because trying something new can be a little scary. And of course, we can process our fears and deal with the larger energetic blocks, but this is more like fear of the unknown and maybe even just a little bit of excitement because we have never done it before. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about here is this belief that we'll never be good enough because we don't have enough experience or we just feel like we're not good enough. So here's what I did to clear this energetic block. Hopefully you'll find it useful too. First, I reconnected with my spiritual mission. In other words, why am I even bothering creating to put this content out there, to launch that offer, or run a business to begin with? And for me, my larger why of doing this work is a lot more important and inspiring than just, will I ever be good enough? In other words, I'm here because I want to help facilitate the high frequency paradigm of Earth. And the best and most effective way that I can think of doing that at the time, or at least right now, is to help lightworkers make their businesses and be more effective in their work. So my larger mission is to support the human collective of Earth. Once I reestablished that why of like, why am I bothering? It really helped bring clarity and that inspiration to move past this block. Because at the end of the day, there are a gazillion teachers out there, and there are so many people that, yes, are gonna be better at stuff than you are. But here's the thing, no one will have your particular experience and your message and energy signature. Yes, we're all special snowflakes, but the point is that if we keep telling ourselves we're never going to be good enough, how are we going to get better? You are qualified to teach this. You are qualified to put this product out there because you are here. You're watching this video, you have experiences, and you're here to bring in the new paradigm of Earth. Now, what people might benefit from your experiences can, again, be iterated upon or explored, but you won't know if you never try. Another tactic that I use to deal with this is to use the Firewall's processing exercise. This one is a little bit different than the fear processing exercise, and it can be a little tricky to determine, is this a fear or is this a firewall? What I do to discern the difference between the two is if I'm generally speaking in terms of absolutes or ultimatums, then I know it's a firewall. So for example, things that I might say are, I'm never gonna be good enough, or it's always gonna be like that, or it's impossible to do, blah, blah, blah. Whenever I use those words that are generalizations or absolutes, that's definitely an indication of a firewall. Now, the firewall's exercise is a little bit different than the fear processing exercise, but it's just as effective, and it gets to that energy bundle in a different way, especially if you're blocked saying, I can never, or it's impossible. Oftentimes, I will couple this with the fear processing exercise because sometimes I'll notice that there is a fear that is also running behind the scenes. Like in the case of, who am I to teach this? Am I qualified enough? There's actually a fear that I'm not good enough. But I also noticed a firewall of saying to myself, I'll never be good enough, which again is just an artificial block to stop us. Once you process these energy bundles, it gets so much easier to just do your thing. So again, when we're looking at our worthiness wounds, it is important to acknowledge that yes, we have them. We can help heal them by addressing them and processing those energy bundles, but also by going back to our why of why are we even doing this to begin with can really help push us through that initial block and actually get our offer out there. So if any of these 3 blocks resonated with you, don't worry, you're not alone, but I hope this video has given you the tools that you can now use to actually address them. Because here's the thing, you're not lazy, you're not flaky. If anything, you are a very powerful light worker, and the world needs your gifts to go out there to build the new paradigm. But sometimes we have stuff come up, and that's okay. It happens to all of us. That's why when we talk about it and we know that we're not alone, it's a lot easier to address these issues because we know that we're doing it together. If this video resonated with you, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you then. Bye.